to me, to me, I want to feel like I have energy, like I've just had a cup of coffee, but that I'm also relaxed. And that's what I get from my meditation and my dance and my qigong practices, is I have that sort of awakeness,
Yeah.
and I have energy, but I'm not like, oh, I've got to expend it. I've got to go out and like get rid of this energy.
Yeah.
The energy is just resting peacefully inside of my body, and I feel very calm and relaxed about it. And to me, that's the best juxtaposition of two different aspects of my life, which is being very awake, but also being very calm at the same time. And that's basically what we teach, is how to be in this state all the time. We in my qigong practice, we call it the natural state, the state that you were born into before the mind put you in the past or in the future.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. And
Yes.
you know, the mind being in the past or the future is really the cause of so much of like social anxiety and just like anxiety in society in general, right?
How about death? I mean, it's really the number one reason why we age and die is stress. And stress is caused by being in the past and future and worrying about something you have no control over. So
Right.
it's really, I think, in our best interest to try and stay in the present as much as possible and have that calm awakeness and aliveness in your body.
Yeah, amazing. Do you have a couple of tips, like really simple things that people can do to like start, you know, like is there a simple breathing exercise that you do in the morning or something like that to start your day, or touch?
It's even more simple. Yes, you can do it with breath, you can do it with touch, you can do it with food, but like the number one tip that I offer is slowing down. Like the more we're all going way too fast, and like for me, that's been one of the blessings of this quarantine, is having time to slow down. But it's so much like energy goes where your attention is. And so if you place all of your attention just on your fingertips, and whether you're touching another human being or you're touching yourself, you know, how slow, how tender, how much attention and intention can you place? Whether it's touching, breathing,
Yeah.
eating really a delicious piece of dark chocolate, making love, looking out at a beautiful sunset. Like it's just slowing down and being able to increase those muscles, because you know we go to the gym to increase our muscles and be able to lift more and be able to run more and make our body feel better. But as you increase your muscles of slowing down and being in this moment, then you can appreciate all the things that you have instead of longing for more or wishing for things from the past.
Slowing down is a natural benefit of any meditation practice. They go hand in hand with each other. Slowing down and meditation are really two sides of the same coin. And slowing down is really, I think, if you haven't cultivated this practice yet, we highly recommend it. You just test it out. Just try it out for like a few minutes and see what like taking extra time putting food into your mouth is, and like slowing down how you eat it and how you touch someone, and how you even maybe read a book, like go back and reread something again and again, instead of just kind of like pillaging through, you know, pages and trying to get to the end of whatever experience you're having. Like doing something to slow down really accentuates and gives more flavor to that experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's sort of an immersive experience, right? Like slowing down, you're in it. There's nowhere else to go. There's no rush. I feel like that's so important, right? Especially in the Western world. I don't know. I mean, I know. I want to know what it's been like in Rishikesh for you guys. It's so different from the USA, you know, India in general, but Rishikesh is so special. And I feel like they're much better at slowing down there.
Well, the kids have been the greatest example for me, because we go out. Sometimes we've only been allowed out once a week. If we try to go out every other day and just go grocery shopping or go down to the river, and there's all these kids along the way that are building forts, that are running around playing tag, that are just like, to them, then life is normal and they're just enjoying it and they're not in fear. And overall, then there's been this whole sense of safety and security. Like there's a compound across the way where whole families sing kirtan every Sunday night. And so I'll just go sit on my balcony and you can hear the kids and the grandmas and like the whole generations are over there just chanting and singing. And there's this overall blessing, like devotion to the land and to each other, and then knowing that everything's going to be okay. Like the shop owners, everyone just keeps saying namaste, like we're in God's hands, everyone's going to be okay. And so that's the overall feeling that we felt here.
Yeah, there's no panic.
Beautiful.
There's not really any anxiety. It's really like people are in their natural flow and connection with one another.
Just got to wear masks.
Yeah, that's super beautiful. That's so lovely. Monique, I would love to know, you mentioned that you were raised Mormon, and I know that you have a free book on your website about your journey, your path, right? From then until now, and everything you've done related to your spiritual liberation and, you know, sexual explorations, I guess. I'd like to hear a little bit about how you got from, you know, being raised Mormon in Utah, right, to, you know, being a tantra teacher and a sex educator in Rishikesh and across the world, like you've taught in so many places. I know you were here in California last year. I know you've been here and there and everywhere. I would love to hear a little bit about that.
Well, the bridge for me was Cuddle Party. Like Cuddle Party is what really began for me. I was going out to conventions because my whole family was super into TV shows. So I got invited to come and work at one of our conventions by Joss Whedon, like Buffy and Angel and Dollhouse and all those series. And so while I was out there, then because I was Mormon, I was one of the few sober participants. And so I'd have the other participants come to me and say, can you create a container that we can explore each other, a non-sexual container that can still contain intimacy? And so it started with one person and eventually grew to over 30 people in a single hotel room. And it was just magical. So it was like my own version of Cuddle Party before I knew it existed. And then a few months into this, then I had a friend send me a link and that said, look at this, isn't it freaky? And I clicked on it and it was like a 6-minute overview of cuddle parties. And I was so excited, and I saw these grown adults in pajamas and people practicing speaking what's not being said. And I'm just like, this isn't freaky. There's people like me. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And so I click on the cuddle party link and I found out there was a cuddle party really close to me, like 2 hours away in a few days. And so I went and I met Reed, that's the founder of Cuddle Parties, and it just like blew my mind. And then he eventually introduced me to the Tantra community in San Diego. And so I started driving because I wasn't flying at that time. So I started driving from Utah to San Diego once a month and just participating in Tantra theater and these different, like I went at my own pace because I didn't want to leave my family. And for a long time, I was a Mormon tantrika. So I was like right on the fence, and I was doing Tantra practices for 1 week out of the month. And then 3 weeks I was going to work and being a mom, and because I have 3 boys, and going to church. And then at some point, then I realized, you know what, I want to have more lovers. Like I've actually always been poly. And so my husband and I slowly started opening up our marriage. And I realized the Mormon church will never accept me now. But and Tantra is so much more. Like if I had a religion, Tantra is it. And so I started running cuddle parties. My very first class that I did on my own was my Energy Sxx class. And that was 11 years ago. And so it's just kept opening and opening and opening. And I realized from being shut down as a child from sexual abuse and emotional abuse and just like, what's wrong with you? That my greatest thing that I can offer people is there's nothing wrong with you. Like you were born with the gifts and talents, like you're the gift. And so that's my ultimate teaching. And we do that through ritual, through teaching women to reclaim their bodies and their power, and through so many other avenues. But that was kind of my trajectory.
I like that. Just when you said like women reclaiming I felt it in my body. I was like, ooh, yes. Ooh, that was great.
So important. Pleasure's our birthright. I didn't even masturbate till I was 34 because there was so much shame and wrongness. And I was like, no, we have these bodies, enjoy them.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. 34. Yeah. Every day I'm like amazed and stunned by the things, like just by the things I hear, by people's stories and stuff like this, and how we all have so much in common. And so much of it has to do with like denial of pleasure and denial of the body from our upbringing and from like society's teachings, I guess. It's amazing. It's just like, yeah, but there seems to be this growing sort of trend and this growing movement towards getting back into the body and getting more in touch with the body. And then, for me it was about the body, and then it turned into a more energetic experience. Like I moved through it kind of in a shamanic way, I guess. I mean, I did some shamanic work as well, and yeah, it's fascinating. What a great story. When did you guys meet? Peter told me a little bit at some point about how he kind of was like open to finding his a life partner, and kind of called you in, and you appeared in some way, and then you guys kind of took off for a couple of weeks. And how did that feel? Where were you guys in your lives? Like, what was happening energetically, physically, in the career,
Yeah. Well, I wasn't, when I wrote my declaration in my journal, I want to do what I love, traveling the world with other amazing teachers. I wasn't trying to call in the one. I was trying to call in my life that I wanted to live.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just finished a course in Los Angeles called Masters in Transformation Training. And it really got me clear of what I wanted to create. And I realized that unless I get passionate about my passion and about being passionate,
right,
then I'm not going to create what I want. Like, your energy and your excitement from you is what and how you create your world. I firmly believe that. I don't believe that life happens to us and that we're kind of victims of circumstance, and that we're just kind of like flailing along in this kind of like chaotic universe. I honestly believe our intention from our own excitement and joy is what we create. And when I got joyful about wanting to create this life of traveling and teaching and meeting other amazing teachers, Monique walked in my door like 3 weeks later, and we accidentally had a conversation on Facebook where I'm like, hey, do you know so-and-so from this class? And she's like, I know them, but I don't know them. And I wasn't in that class. And I'm like, oh, okay. When somehow we got around to like, well, hey, do you want to have a quick conversation just to get to know each other? Because you seem very interesting. And she's like, yeah, and she's not, and just so you know, Monique does not take just like random phone calls. Like, she's
selective.
That's my introvert side. Yeah, we have to schedule.
So we had a conversation, and about probably 15 minutes into that conversation, a voice in the back of my head said, hey, I think you're going to know this person for the rest of your life. Like,
wow.
There was so much alignment in what we talked about in just the first 15 minutes. I was just like, whoa, like, this person is someone who is super cool and is on the same path I'm on. And there's just like this feeling. I don't know what it was, just a voice. And so that conversation that was supposed to be 20 minutes turned out to be like about an hour and 20 minutes. And at the end of the phone call, she's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be at this event in Oakland. Would you like to come?
Energy Sxx event.
Cool.
Energy Sxx event.
Hey, that's where I was born. That's amazing. Maybe that's, maybe I was picking up on what you guys were doing, and that's when it all happened for me.
Absolutely. And I teach Qigong, which revolves around energy. I was like, oh, but I'd love to investigate this and see what it's all about. Yeah. So we meet at this event, and Monique she meets me at the door, and she's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. Like, who are you? And it's just this like glowing, vibrant energy, and we both were a little bit starstruck with each other, and were very intrigued. And from that event turned into our first date a couple of days later.
Aww.
And on that first date, Monique lost her computer, which
It got stolen.
yeah,
What?
in Oakland. Yeah, in Oakland, as you probably know, anything that's not bolted down gets stolen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for her, she had half of her book that she had written and a bunch of stories and pictures from the last like 5 years on this computer. And so like it was
basically, they weren't backed up, so it was gone forever.
Basically, these
man.
memories were just like ripped away from her. And so it created this intimacy kind of like
Really quickly.
super quickly.
Right.
And I think one of the most impressive things that I noticed from that experience is that instead of blaming me for the experience, because she was in my truck, and even though she got out of the car on her side and she forgot to lock the door, it was still my car, and I could be held responsible for her computer getting stolen. And she didn't. She took and accepted the result of what happened on her own. She was like, you know what, this is my fault. This is not your fault. This is my fault. And I was so impressed by that, because I thought after her computer getting stolen, like, well, I'm never going to see this person again. Like, like I've been with people where something like this happens, and it's like, that's it. Someone, I'll give you a quick example. A friend of mine came to visit me, and she left her cell phone in her car. She forgot to lock the door. She came back out the next morning, and her cell phone's gone. Surprise, surprise, you leave a car door unlocked. But because she was parked in front of my house, she really blamed me that it was my fault that her cell phone got stolen.
That's insane, if you ask me. I mean, that's like,
it's a little insane. And I think she knew deep down that it was her fault, but at the same time, it was insinuated as my fault. And I was like, gosh, like, this seems weird. And so when I came to Monique and she took responsibility, I was like, wow, okay. Like, this person is like super integrous and real and raw and vulnerable. And I got all of that from our first interaction with each other. And that was the impetus. That was the impetus of, like, we both discussed on that first day, like, gosh, why don't we travel and teach together? You have these talents, I have these talents. We merge them together. We could probably create some magic. And that was the whole idea of us traveling and teaching together was born. And we went on a 2-week tour. And after that 2 weeks, Monique's like, I got this crazy idea. Why don't you tell them the crazy idea?
So for me, like when I met Peter too, I definitely was not looking for the one. Like, I came from knowing my husband with my 3 boys since I was 11 years old. We got married in the temple for our church, and then opening up our marriage. So by the time I met Peter, then I had 8 other lovers around the world, and I was so happy being poly. And I'm like, hey Peter, let me introduce you to the poly lifestyle. And he never had threesomes. And like the first year we were together, then he had over 100 threesomes, and just like having this whole experience. And after that first time of teaching together, then those first 3 weeks, and I was headed to Hawaii for my first time going to Hawaii. And so I wrote my organizers there, and I said, hey, can I bring along a love interest if he's a yes? And so that's when I came to Peter and said, I have this crazy scheme. Why don't you come to Hawaii with me and extend the tour? And while we were in Hawaii, then we done this amazing, like, week long. It was during his birthday, and I took him out underneath the stars and floated him around in the warm pools. And then the next morning, then we were ready to go have this big play party with friends. And I just had this whole vision of like the white picket fence and Peter being the one, and it freaked me out. And I was just like, I don't want this. And it was just so sweet, because he comes over and he's like, why are you crying? Like, I really want to know. And so I shared with him what was going on, and then gave him the option to go out and have the play party, because there were all these hot girls and people that, we were going to go and enjoy together. And he's all, no, I'm here to be with you. And by the end of that night, I'm like, Peter, will you go steady with me? And there was just like all of these feelings that opened up. And it took him another 1.5 years to say yes.
Wow.
But there was, I knew. And so it was, and we still, have this somewhat open relationship, or we have during quarantine. It's just us, but it's much more toned down than it was when I met Peter.
Yeah, cool. Wow, what a
That's
story.
basically the story.
Yeah, that's quite a story. I don't even know where to go from there. I'm like, gosh, what do I ask now? There was so much, and there's so many interesting bits in there, like, you know, from the theft, like teaching you about loss and how to, and the intention between you two, like how, like, you know, your heart-centeredness approach to what's going on, the ability to assume responsibility and how important that is. I feel like that's a really important aspect of like a mature, especially like a tantric relationship. Like you have to really assume full responsibility for what happens to you as an individual, right? And you have to be able to look and reflect more deeply. But yeah, and I was going to ask you something, like, tell me something not many people know about your relationship. I don't know how many people know all these things about your relationship, though. There were some really great bits in there.
Not too many.
No, okay.
Yeah, I mean, a few people know about that story, but it's not super many people.
Yeah.
What's something people don't know? You know what? This may be a surprise to you, but Monique is really a giant introvert. She is not as gregarious and as outgoing as people think. Like she's like when she's in teaching and up in front of the room, like there are very few people I can think of that have the same capability of holding a room that Monique does. Like she's incredibly adept and aware of the energy in the room. And what I love about Monique's teaching style, which is kind of like my own, is I don't just like have a routine. Like I scan how things are going in my class, and then I will make a hard right or a hard left if my intuition is telling me like, hey, you don't want to just go along like you've been going along. Like go ahead and make a change for the betterment of the class, because the class will get so much more out of what you're doing if you are paying attention to what's happening in the room. And we've had this before where we'll kind of like look at each other like, you know what, we're not going to do this exercise next like we thought we were. We're going to do something else. Or something like an exercise and people are going super deep in it. And instead of just cutting it off, we'll be like, you know what, we need to spend like a few extra minutes here and go deeper into what's happening, because there's a dynamic transformation that's happening in this moment. And that to me separates the ordinary facilitators from the extraordinary ones. The extraordinary ones can like change and be adaptive on the fly and do something radically different that I think will enhance the person's experience of the class. So that's where we intersect. And I appreciate Monique's ability to do that, because she's really one of the best at doing that in the world.
Yeah, I remember, like I said, being at the California Tantra Festival, and Monique had facilitated at least a few of the workshops that I was at. And I remember the specific one about like rewriting your birth story, I think. And I really felt that. And there was a talk, she and Kai and Eugene, I think, were up at the front. And there just every time that I sat with you, Monique, and like just I was like, she's really in tune. And it probably comes with being an introvert. Like you can feel a lot more because you're less externally driven. Like you're able to, because you can connect intimately with yourself so much better than an extrovert might be able to. Like I feel like your transmission is much stronger, and also just like it's really loving and beautiful. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I mean, I'm really excited to see you in the and like the Energy Sxx Pleasure Playground, because you know how that's going to transmit online and within the context of your own creation, right? An Energy Sxx creation online. I'm really curious to see how, you know, what manifests from that, and like how you engage with people. I'm super excited about that. I have a fun question for you guys, because I did look up a little bit about Energy Sxx and your history with it. I did a little sleuthing around on your profiles and your websites. What can you tell me about a heart fuck? Oh,
Because Reed has is. Can you hear us?
can you just repeat the first few seconds of what you said? Yeah,
Okay, you
please.
can hear now.
Mm-hmm.
So the Heartfuck began 9 years ago in a class that Reed and I were co-facilitating. And he had just spoken into energy and talking about how people can penetrate and be penetrated at the same time. And then like he has great words, but there wasn't an experiential. And I'm like, oh, I know what I do with lovers. And so then we started creating this space where everyone has an active and a receptive side. So it's like, if you can imagine that we all have an energetic penis, we all have an energetic vulva, pussy, vagina, lingam, like whatever words you want to use, we all have energetic both. And so the Heartfuck is being able to create that experience of being able to feel that polarity within yourself. So you can feel, you can open up and you can allow, so you bring all that energy into your heart. So you can either imagine that you're the penetrator, and so then you're bringing that energetic penis energy up through your heart so that you can penetrate another person, or you can penetrate the universe. Like I've had some of the greatest sex ever just sitting on this balcony and penetrating the mountains, or being penetrated by the mountains or the sun, or like that's the fun of energy, is that you can penetrate the universe and be penetrated by the universe. But if you tap into that active side of you of like, wow, if I could, I would penetrate the world, and like just really feel that power and that passion and that drive and desire, and bring that energy through your heart. And if you're with another person, then you can bring it from your heart through your palms, and you can place it on the other person's heart, or you can go heart to heart and just really allow yourself to energetically penetrate them, or a tree, the universe, whatever it is you're penetrating.
Were you ever scared of these abilities? Like, did you ever deal with fears around energetic penetration or being so open with these powers?
Well, there was the shame and the made wrong of when I was younger. But like when I started playing with it in the tantra field, then it wasn't ever scary to me, because again, like especially being a person that was sexually abused, then that's why I like to bring that energy through the heart, because for most people, then even that groin energy or that penetrative energy doesn't feel so scary coming from your heart. And then the other side of being receptive, then you just open up your heart, or imagine that your whole heart is this giant yoni, giant pussy, vulva, and that you're just able to receive.
Wow.
And so if active energy is I want to penetrate the world, then receptive energy is I'm open and available for the universe to penetrate me. And in that sphere, like that's where you manifest from, that's where you receive from. Like most of us are really good givers, but we have a horrible time receiving. So the more time you spend in that receptive nature, especially those that have spent most of their life physically penetrating others, when you can tap into that energetic receptivity, then the next time you physically penetrate someone, then you have that conscious awareness of, oh, that's what it's like to be penetrated. And so it just takes your lovemaking to a whole nother level, whether you have your clothes on or not.
Yeah, wow. I just like what you just said just completely connected it for me. Like, understanding what it feels like to penetrate someone by being receptive through your heart. And anyone can tap into that, I think. Like anyone can, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, religion, whatever, what have you, anything. Like it's actually, it's completely universal. That's amazing. That's so cool. Thank you so much.
And we have people that don't resonate with penis or cock energy, and so they'll imagine like a unicorn horn or a rainbow dildo. Like you can imagine whatever you want to penetrate from or be penetrated with. So you can adapt it for you.
That's awesome. A rainbow dildo. Wow. This is so fun. I love this conversation. A lot of my
queer friends, that's what works for them.
Perfect. Yeah, I have a lot of queer friends too. So I'm always, and I talk to them about that. I was just on a call the other day with a friend of mine who's queer, and they were asking me like, what's with this talking about masculine and feminine all the time in tantra? And I was like, breaking it down for them, like, it's really like just passive, assertive, sun, moon, earth, sky. Like you can say so many
Exactly.
things, but the masculine and feminine has been normalized, mostly because of our heterodominant, heteronormative culture, I should say, and how we've all been raised into that, like mostly as a result of religion, from my understanding. At least that's from my perspective. But yeah, rainbow dildos and unicorns definitely help break that. I love it.
Well, the great thing about this weekend's festival is almost all of the classes are queer friendly. They're not heteronormative. You hardly ever hear the word masculine or feminine. It's active or receptive or polarities. Like there's room and space. Instead of saying man, woman, then we usually use humans, like the human next to you, because we really want to make it inclusive for everyone. And I'm a queer person too. And as I started studying tantra a lot, then there was so much of having to sit across from the opposite gender. Like everything was gender sized when I was first beginning this path. So when I started teaching, I'm like, well, fuck that. Like you're a number one, you're a number two, and you sit across. It doesn't matter what gender's there. So this whole festival, for the most part, like there's a few, we have a few traditional teachers that may use masculine and feminine, but at least 80% is very, very queer friendly and inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, maintaining inclusivity, or like being inclusive, also means, accepting heterosexuality too, right? Like you can have it can all be included. And yeah, it's lovely. It's that's beautiful. That's exciting. Well, I'm gonna let my this queer friend of mine who I was talking to last week, I'm gonna let them know that, because they were asking me like, they were like, who does this? And I can't wait for the day when I can just sit with a tantra teacher and just like not talk about masculine and feminine when they start using different words. I was like, I know, I totally get that. And I'm personally working on that, changing my vocabulary around it all, and just becoming more aware of it, because especially living in California, and across the world, it's happening across the world. Like people are queer everywhere, and making them feel included and accepted is step one, right? To bridging the gap between people. And it's really an activist approach to sexuality too, which I love. And I feel like for me in my tantra world, like activism is super crucial. Like being conscious of like who feels oppressed or who doesn't feel included. It's so important. So yeah, anyway, that was great. One more question, if I may, and then I want to hear you guys talk a little bit more about what's coming next weekend, a little bit more, but just sort of to get back to basics and down to the fundamentals. For people who have a hard time defining or describing tantra and energy sex and everything that it encompasses, how would you describe or define tantra?
Well, my definition for tantra is just the path of falling in love with yourself.
Say that again, sorry.
It's the path of falling in love with yourself. Okay. It's continuously finding your yes in each moment. Then like I have a dear friend that talked to me a long time ago, and they said, Monique, do you know what responsibility is? And I set all of these things down of being the oldest of like 7 siblings of like responsibility is this and taking care of that. And he just laughed and he's like, okay, take a breath, Monique, are you ready? Responsibility is the ability to respond. That's it. And so it's, for me, tantra is creating that spaciousness for you to be able to question everything and to listen to that inner voice, that inner feeling. And so you can continuously fall in love with all those unique parts of yourself instead of trying to conform or fit in.
Beautiful. Really beautifully said. Yeah, thank you.
For me, it's diving deep within your heart and investigating what's really intensely alive. Like what passions, what joys, what excitements are in there in your body. And then exporting those out into the world, allowing those passions to be awakened and allowed to be embodied in who you are. And those embodiments are through breath, movement, sound, and touch. Those are the main tantric practices that have been passed down from generation to generation. And it's also how energy primarily moves through our body, are those 4 methods. So we take those methods, and those are the vehicles for exporting joy and our passion and our desires and our love of this world. And to me, I have to firmly agree with one of our tantra teachers, Sean Roop, which is like, tantra is about a life well lived. And and if you're embodying and you're awakening and you're becoming more alive, to me, that's a life well lived. That's really why I'm on this planet, is to be not sleepwalking, but awake. And I feel very blessed to be on this path.
Thank you, Peter. That's lovely. Yeah, and you guys are doing all of that. You're expanding and creating the space for things to come through, for the love to come through, and you're pursuing your passions and you're sharing your gifts. And part of that is this Sxx Energy Playground that's coming this weekend. And gosh, I mean, what else do you guys have going on? You mentioned you're coming into the Bay Area later this year, right? That's the plan.
Yeah, the hope is to be able to come the end of July or the first part of August. And so just stay apprised of our whereabouts, whether it's online, again, that's where you also find my book, or whether it's in person, everydaytantra.com. And we have the schedule, and we have a ton of free videos that dive into different aspects of tantra and energy and various things.
Wonderful.
I am doing a Qigong dance class tomorrow here in Rishikesh that'll also be broadcast live on my Facebook group page, which is called Qigong Dance.
Cool.
Easy to find. And so for people who I've had so many people like say, hey, like, I want more dance. I'm not getting the dance fix that I used to get before this quarantine started. And I've been locked up, and I really want to get more music and movement fused together. And so I was like, well, why don't I just create a Qigong dance group, and then I'll broadcast my Qigong dance class in this group. So for any of your dance enthusiasts,
including myself, what time is that happening?
That is 9:30 here in Rishikesh, which will be 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
9 p.m.
9 p.m. for you. And then 10 Mountain, 11 Central, 12 Eastern.
And that's tomorrow, you said, right?
It's tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
And then it's available if you're part of the group, then you can just go on and watch it anytime.
Right. It's recorded, so you can.
So cool.
So you can watch it anytime.
Can you post a link to your group in the comments when we're done, so that people know how to get there easily?
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that afterwards, and we'll put our website down there too. So if anyone has any questions about what's happening, we'll put the Energy Sxx Playground link in there as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Thanks for having us, Ashley.
Yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for taking the time and making it so special. You guys are my first interview also, which makes it like even more special. Woohoo!
All right.
I love being people's first. So thank you for that gift, Ashley.
Really
my
does.
pleasure.
She's not just saying that. She really likes being people.
You're a good first to have. A very, very good one. An excellent first. Thank you. I couldn't have asked for a better first.
Let me run you to the balcony and I'll show you Rishikesh.
Yeah.
We have a very beautiful view.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, wow. I think I know where you are along the Ganges, the Ganga. I think I know.
It's an amazing space, honey.
Yeah. Oh. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's amazing. Have you guys taken a bath in the river? Just quickly. Have you taken a bath in the Ganges? Have you gotten into the river? Yeah?
We can send you some pictures.
Okay, awesome. I would love that. All right, well, have a great day, you guys, and thanks again so much. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, love.
It was lovely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
See you this weekend. Love you.
See you. Love you too. See you soon. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Bye,
Adios.
guys. Bye-bye.